Hello, everybody. It's me, Carpo, and my little philosophy corner here. I'm going to try to get my videos a little bit shorter and to the point because I have too many ideas to express. And I try to cram them all into one. But I'm kind of leaning more towards expressing interesting proverbs, awakenings, awarenesses, and I think I'm going to lean away from the controversial side of things, avoid the news, avoid confronting religion, avoid confronting politics, avoid confronting anything. Confrontation is something that causes me to look inside myself and inside my experience base to say, why am I trying to defend a point of view? And more often than not, I don't defend my point of view because I've learned in my life that people have different points of view. It doesn't mean that one person's right or wrong, but you can see it in the way that people behave and whether or not defending their point of view is really valid. And that's why I say that I'm just going to completely stay away from, especially the religion side of things. For example, I have no reason to dispute an angry God. And a lot of people have this image of God as a vengeful, a serious, an angry man in the sky watching. Now, to me, that's preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. I see no validity in that whatsoever. I see no validity in such a wondrous universe and then being tied up in man's morals. But people do. So if I'm defending my point of view by saying that there is no vengeful God, and someone is saying there is, what's to be gained from the argument? And why am I defending the idea that there isn't? So when I look deeper into myself, I say, well, I'm defending this point of view because I don't want folks to see things negatively in life, because I feel like people will live happier if they see this. And so then you dig deeper. Why do I care if people are happy or not? Well, because when people are happy, it makes for a better society. How does a better society benefit? Well, it ultimately benefits me. And when you can trace every thought or defense back to selfish action, you've conquered adversity. And it's no bad days goes way beyond a sticker on the back of a car. It's a way of life. To be able to get in and out of a situation and recognize it for what it is, and hopefully all parties involved learn something from it. So, if I'm involved in a discussion where I'm defending my point of view, and let's say the discussion went in my favor, and that I was able to convince the person I'm talking to that what I had to say was correct, or as right as one can be being human. It doesn't matter, because there's nothing to be gained from it. So, ultimately we have selfish motives, and we've created a God in that image. And that, in my eyes, is the biggest bane to humanity, is to believe that there is a vengeful God. It's too complicated for most people to see God in everything. It's not the kind of way of thinking that most people want to have, where they have to spend their entire life constantly leaning on little jokes and cues about life, and like the Zen philosophies, to where there really is no doctrine. There is no doctrine of Zen. And the doctrine that does exist, all the ancient papers of Zen, they can't be dated. And I heard someone speaking about this the other day. They said that a lot of Hindu philosophy, the papers cannot be dated because the Buddhist and Zen masters had absolutely no desire to record history because they see things as cyclical. And this led back to the idea of Jesus Christ being sacrificed, as sacrificing himself for man, for the sins of man, and how, in the way I see the universe, if this was true, he'd have to continue to come back every cycle and keep doing this and repeating this. And perhaps he did. Perhaps there were more. I'm not disputing Jesus, and I'm not here to even talk about Jesus. I'm saying that when you have a different perspective on certain factors of life, you can see right through the facade that's been created as religion, as organized religion. When you go to a Zen teacher and ask him a question, he will pose often a question back to you. Ask, why do you want to know this? And ultimately, the goal is not to learn any doctrine, it's to understand yourself. And when I see Christians going into a church and reading a doctrine, or rather having someone read a doctrine to them and telling them what's important, this is just as bad as falling into a political arena and believing what the leaders tell you. It's an affront to truth. It's a falsity. And I don't mean to offend anyone by that, but the Christian doctrine is a falsity. It's not conducive to the way that humans were, should I say, it's not conducive to the way that the universe works. And as we've gained more knowledge and understood different sciences, we understand how things go together, and the more we try to explain it away as being material, the more we find God within the details. The components of an atom are as far spaced as, say, the planets and the sun. There's a lot of empty space, and beyond that, everything's empty space. So quantum physics tells us that many of the ideas that we made in the past, explanations for why things are the way they are even more mystical than we could possibly fathom or create in our minds. And this leads me back to the origin of my discussion here, which was about defending your point of view. And this is why I see Islam, Christianity, Catholicism, all as affronts and falsities. And the reason why I say that is because, and this is what I mean about not making it, I'm not going to tap into other religions. This is my final explanation of how I feel the way I feel and why I feel the way I feel. These religions have done nothing but try to defend their points of view to each other for as long as recorded history. And it has done nothing for mankind. It has done nothing for the universe. It has done nothing for what a person may call God. And when people speak of service to God, they see themselves as separate from God. They don't see helping themselves as helping God. And I do. I see each one of us as the facet of a jewel. Completely insignificant, each one of us, yet so significant. Everything has a purpose and a reason for existence. And this is my take on it, but to each his own. I find that these religions, the major religions, are always defending themselves against each other. They're blaming each other for the problems. They're claiming that they have the ultimate truth. And that's how I know that it's not the truth. It's because any truth that has to be defended is not a valid truth. Because a truth can be only observed by the individual. It doesn't have to be expressed. It doesn't have to be proven to anyone. And that's Zen. There is no doctrine. There is nothing to learn. There is no pinnacle of knowledge to where you become a master. Or you may be a Zen master, but a Zen master basically means that you've learned to do nothing. And be happy with it. And learning about ourselves and the way we do things and why we do things, and at the same time learning about our environment, is so important. And I'm ready to move forward with my life and move beyond all of this controversy. I've been fighting in my own heart whether I should stand up for what I believe in, say stand up towards the companies that are wronging people, the political system, or if I should just sit back and live my own life. And neither one of them seem to work. I can't ignore the facts. You can't become a hermit, otherwise you're opting out of assistance. This is what Buddha did. He became an ascetic, stopped eating, and then after years he realized it was the wrong way to be. Now Buddha, when I say Buddha, I have nothing but respect for Buddhists, but Buddha means nothing to me. Stone Buddha, wooden Buddha, burn the Buddha, it means nothing. Because the whole idea is that you have to let it all go. You have to be able to have a doctrine that helps you to gain and doesn't have a final chapter. The degrees of Masonry, or the degrees of a particular set or religion, the degrees that you gain where you're gaining status and power among that by what? By knowing more of a book than someone else, or by being able to repeat what you've been told better than the next person. And to me, that gains nothing. It gains nothing. A person who is, say, a Zen master would be able to give a little quote or saying to another Zen master, where neither one of them had heard each other's quote before. They can both gain from it, both learn from it. But it's not the same one. It's not a written doctrine. Man is fallible, and I guess to leave, I should just leave it there. I wanted to leave with a quote from this, or a little saying from this, and I may have said this in my other video, but this is an important one, and this stands for my belief in how all religions should operate. The man's walking through the woods in the middle of the night. He's cold, he's tired, he's hungry, and he's lost. And he comes across a temple, a Buddhist temple. He goes inside, no one's there. It's freezing cold in there. He lights a torch, and he sees a wooden Buddha statue in the corner. There's two of them. So he takes one, and he proceeds to chop it into pieces, and makes a fire. Keeps him warm all night. In the morning, the attendant comes, he opens the doors, and he sees the pile of ashes. And he just freaks out. He says, "Oh my gosh, what have you done? You've burned the Buddha." And he says, "What? Where?" He says, "Right there." So he starts digging through the ashes. And the attendant asks him, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm looking for the pearls." Which, when a Buddha dies, he leaves pearls behind in his ashes that they read them to find the next Buddha, to learn whatever they do with it. And the attendant tells him, "Oh, no, you won't find the pearls in there." He said, "Why not?" He said, "Because that's not the real Buddha. That's just a wooden Buddha." And he says, "Oh, in that case, give me that other Buddha. Let's chop it up and make a fire." That was it. That's it. That's the belief that if you have a symbol that stands for your belief, burn it. It's just the same as burning the American flag for freedom. It's to say, if we have this flag to show that we have freedoms, and we wave this flag because of our freedoms, we should have the right to burn it as a freedom. And likewise, if your belief system is so strong that you need to prove nothing, then you should be able to burn any symbol that stands for that. And that's the way I see it. Symbols that stand for God never work, because they don't get along with each other. So I know that it's really hard for people to change, especially if they've been indoctrinated with such beliefs their entire life. But I personally feel that it's to the benefit of the individual to learn about every religion, learn about every angle, every belief. And if your religion omits knowledge, then it's time to rethink, because knowledge is power. And power allows you to function and to have, I'm not talking about power, like we see power. It's information. So I'll just let it go there because I could go on and on. End up being a long video anyway. Peace.